Hi. So, what about this prediction that came from Neil Ferguson from the Imperial College of London that was accepted almost as gospel by the UK and US governments as being reliable and authoritative? Astounding that actually Neil Ferguson at the Royal College of London, the Imperial College of London, that he has a long history of making the most woeful predictions. Now, why would you trust someone that's got such a history of making such awful predictions? He has a history of making woefully wrong predictions that have overestimated the numbers of victims or deaths from previous alleged pandemics. Let me give you some examples. In 2002, he predicted that up to 50,000 people would die from mad cow disease in the UK, and that the number could even rise to 150,000 if there was a sheep epidemic. Now, the actual number of deaths estimated for mad cow disease, also called BSE, in the United Kingdom was estimated to be 177. His estimate was up to 50,000. Not even 1,000 died of it in the end. 177 were estimated to die from it. I don't know how accurate that is, but so a tiny percentage. No, but it doesn't end there. So that's just one of his bad predictions. Okay, and then again, a few years later, 3 years later, in 2005, in fact, he then predicted up to 200 million people globally would die of bird flu. This was the prediction he made based on his computer models. Okay, but actually, it turned out, or it was estimated, about 282 people died of bird flu. A tiny fraction of what he predicted. His second overwhelmingly false prediction that turned out to be utterly wrong. Then we go on to 2009, 4 years into the future. He then predicted 65,000 people would die in the UK of swine flu, but it was estimated 457 people died. So he then, in moving up to this year, 2020, he then predicted large numbers of people would die of the COVID-19 strain of coronavirus. Well, we haven't seen anything like that. In actual fact, the reported number of global deaths due to COVID-19 is actually much smaller than what he predicted that UK deaths would be. Now, why is someone that has got a long history of making woefully inaccurate overestimates, false predictions, that his model turned out to be totally flawed and had no basis in reality, why is someone like that being accepted as an authentic authority on the subject? When other academics, experts within that same field of knowledge, from Oxford University, no doubt, right, they are studying it and coming up with wildly different estimates that actually seem to be, according to the data that's now emerging from the ONS, from the Office of National Statistics, that's actually proving to be much more reliable. So why on earth were the government ministers in the UK and the US, why were they taking this man Neil Ferguson and his colleagues, their assessment, as authentic in any way? Why? And it's important to ask that because the severe lockdown, shutdown and social isolation measures were based on the dire predictions that this man and his colleagues had made. And they have a long history, proven track record of making woefully awful and false predictions. So you have to really question, why is that? And that seems like the question to me. And I don't know the answer to that, but surely somebody must be held accountable, because these measures have had a pretty bad effect on many people. You know, there are people with long-term illnesses having hospital appointments cancelled, students having their education cancelled, people with long-term mental and physical health problems who are lacking the social support that they may be needed, people having all sorts of difficulties because of the measures that were introduced, and those measures were justified by these predictions that have now turned out to be absolutely false, just like all the other predictions this man made were too. Just incredible. Just really warrants a serious investigation as to why anything that man had said turned out to be true. And you know what is really awful about it as well, is that he was flagrantly breaking his own regulations. You know, he practiced social intimacy, going out and meeting his own friend. You know, that's what we know about. We don't know about all the other potential meetings he might have had. He preached social distancing, but he didn't practice it. So he obviously wasn't afraid that it would be a genuine pandemic in the way that he portrayed it. So that would suggest that he knew that those figures were false when he was presenting them merely to justify those measures. You know, that's somebody that knew that it was a false thing, because if he believed that it was genuinely that high risk mortality, would he really be going out jeopardizing his own life and the lives of his own partner and other people? Does he really care little for himself, his partner and other people? You've got to ask yourself that. It just seems to me he didn't really care at all. Is there a financial incentive? You bet there is. The Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they were financing his institution, donating millions of money to his research. You know, there's the financial motive for you. You know, follow the money. That's where it always leads back to. He had the motive. You know, when people are being paid to give you the information that you want to hear, that's what it's about, you know, and that's what it seems to be. He needs to come out and argue and to justify why he gave that false information, but much more importantly, why did other people accept that as authentic when he had a proven track record of giving woefully wrong predictions? And that's in the public realm. That is known information that anyone could search and find out easily.